Welcome to Live Laugh Loads, a fun podcast for gay men exploring authenticity and vulnerability.
Where we talk about gay culture, mental health, relationships, and sex. Come take a load off with me, Ryan.
And me, Dario. So sit back, strap in, and enjoy the ride. You're listening to the continuation of last week's episode. We hope you enjoy it. Let's jump right in. Okay, so 2 questions before we go into red flags. What is the appropriate level of physical contact for a first date? You know, like especially like how to avoid getting too horny or giving the wrong impression. Also cultural differences. Like white culture versus Latino culture versus, other dynamics, kisses, hellos, goodbyes, hugs. Uh how do you handle all that? What is your prefer stance there, Solo?
Yeah, I am a pretty reserved person. So generally, like, if you're the type of person who kind of like pats somebody when you laugh or like, things like that, I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I actually take that as a sign of like, okay, like I can psychologically go down that route and analyze what that means and be okay with that. In terms of they think it's funny, they think they're getting a little bit comfortable, like maybe they find me attractive, maybe okay, you know what I mean? Like I can go down that route and be like, that's fine. But on the first date, like logically, I can't get around the fact that you're a stranger and I'm a stranger, and
Yeah.
in any other situation, I wouldn't really like do super intimate things with a stranger. Like I really need to get to know you and actually get to like you
Yeah.
before I'm comfortable with you holding my hand, doing this, doing that. Like the last date I went on, they went in for a hug goodbye. The first date, they went in for a hug goodbye and whatever, I hugged them back. But as I was walking away, I was kind of like, again, like there's no other situation in life where I would sit down at a table with a stranger and then hug them goodbye. Like, I think it's fine. I'm not upset by that, but I was like, I just really need a connection before I
Mm,
want to
interesting.
touch you
Yeah.
or be touched.
Yeah.
So we're just here getting to know each other. You know what I mean? We don't have to like do all this crazy stuff, but I do think as we're dating and hanging out more and more, like I'm open to like it's like unlocking levels. It's like the more time you spend with someone, like okay, level one unlocked, okay, level two. You know what I mean?
I like that.
But to unlock like 4 levels and hanging out 2 times, it's just like that doesn't make sense to me.
You don't have the experience points for this. You're not ready.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because I think like I shared the story on another episode, or did I share it to you? I don't know. It's hard to tell when
I
I told
know.
you talking as a friend and
That's
when.
why I take the notes about what we've talked about.
Yeah,
You gotta start
and
reviewing
so
those.
I went on a date after like 2 weeks of talking to someone on the phone. And he picked me up in his car, and as soon as I got in the car, he leaning for a kiss in the mouth. And I'm like, and I was like, whoa. Like I kind of like went around and I was like, hey, nice to meet you. Like I was like, I haven't even seen you in person yet. And like, like, and I feel so like, oh. And then we got through this whole date, which was not a excellent date. It was like an okay day where like I had to tell him like, hey, you keep interrupting me every time you ask me a question. I can't finish my
It was
sentence. And like,
weird, but he was receptive to feedback. So
yeah,
it was
he
like
was very well receptive to
there's
feedback.
like an interesting, promising component
Yeah.
to it.
And then anyhow, so then I was like, okay, maybe this was a rough first date where we're just trying to like figure it out what the right levels of dynamics are. And so I was open to a second date, but when he drops me off, he tries to kiss me again. And I was just like, oh, I think I'm gonna need a little bit more time before we go there, I said. And he's like, well, I'm gonna need sex And I was like, "Oh." And I just literally got out of the car and I was like, I didn't say that. Like my last word was like, "Oh."
Oh,
And I didn't, like I was so shocked, and I just walked away. But yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. It's like you just went from like level 0 to level 100 in the span of like a couple of hours, and also like not reading my physical like body
like
language,
we
which
already
is
had a
crazy.
conversation about this.
Yeah.
I'm curious, one, how much do we care and believe in the concept of the like love languages stuff? Because I was curious if Solo could tell us what he thinks his like primary love languages,
Hmm. I
and we could all talk about it.
but
I think I'm kind of like relearning them. I think um, years ago when I definitely struggled with attachment issues, mine were in this order: physical touch and words of affirmation. And as my attachment issues kind of grew, physical touch and words of affirmation kind of like blended into one, in the sense that if you weren't giving me enough physical touch, whatever that meant at the time, then I would hope words of affirmation came in, because what's going on, I'm feeling insecure. Um, if you're not really giving me a lot of words of affirmation, then I'd hope physical touch was in play, because what's going on, I feel insecure. So, like, that was kind of the old me. Whereas now, yeah, I'm kind of relearning what my love languages are.
It sounds like physical touch would probably be pretty low for you then, based off of your description of like an initial meeting. Because like I would describe, like
Yeah.
I agree that I'm also like a little bit reserved. I certainly don't. Like, something I need to, like, consciously work on is when I am into somebody, like, giving them physical attention, because that's not my baseline, and people do need that to some degree. But on the opposite end of that, I'm very much like, I'm gonna hug you, probably hello and goodbye. Like, I'm gonna like, that's my instinct for strangers even. Like, yesterday when we were meeting new people, I'm gonna hug you to meet say hello for the first time.
yeah.
And also, I think that that maybe also comes from, like, I think we've talked about this before. Like my mom and my sister, our relationship is
Yeah.
like we're very much like give each other a little kiss on the
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm close with you, definitely there's a degree. But I would say my first, as far as like how I show love, is acts of service, 100%. And then the one that I like the most for like receiving love is definitely words of affirmation.
That's
Mhm.
interesting. But yeah, that's what I was actually also asking about, like cultural differences, because I'm Latino and I grew up in Argentina, and touch over there is just very normalized, and it
Mhm.
means nothing. Like, it means something, but it also means nothing. It's
Yeah,
like it's a very common thing to like meet someone new and kiss them.
yeah,
Like that's just how
Yeah.
we say, "Hi, oh, nice to meet you," kiss.
yeah.
And so so like the the barometer, the measurements of what's appropriate or not appropriate is completely different. I do remember when I first moved to the States, I had to.
Stop kissing people.
Yeah, I had to. Well, so I remember, so I was introduced to a coworker at this internship, my first internship in the United States, and my instinct was to like approach her and give her a kiss because I was just meeting her, like that was normal for me, and she pulled back and like she was like completely uncomfortable, and like it shocked me to the point I was like, oh my gosh, she got
What did
really
I do?
upset. What did I
Yeah.
do that like offended her so much? And then obviously I learned over time, like what the culture was here, but it was very shocking. And so to this day, I think like kissing and hugging, it's okay. Um, feels very normal and kind of basic, if I do like someone, um or when I'm in a relationship, I like cuddles and I like touch, like, and I go to a different level of intimacy. With friends will take me probably like 2 years to like feel like I can touch them in a comfortable, safe way that is non-sexual,
Mhm.
because I need the safety of knowing that if I touch you, you're not going to interpret that as a sexual advance. And so like it
Mhm.
just takes me forever to like open up in that way to other
I can
people,
relate to that a lot.
because I'm scared that I'm like, oh, they're gonna think that it's something else, but it doesn't mean that to me.
Yeah.
So it's just like I think like I being forced to be more reserved physically, uh, I think I'm awful at words of affirmation for other people, and if people do it,
Interesting.
yeah, and if people do it to me,
Because I don't think, at least as a friend, I think that you're not. You're very good at words of affirmation as a friend.
really,
Yeah, maybe you don't feel like that with like maybe it's different with partners or like
yeah,
romantic interests.
I think maybe it's different with
But as a
partners. Yeah.
friend, I think you're very good at words of affirmation.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I like to hear
Yeah, you are.
that. um,
Like I'm thinking back to like just the other day when we were out for my birthday and you were like saying happy birthday to me and then I made a comment about your birthday and you're like today's your birthday, don't talk about mine. Like you're like very I like it's like little subtle things like that. Like I think you're very attentive to like
oh,
making sure people
well, I
feel
appreciate that.
good.
Yeah. I think like for me, when someone starts complimenting me, specifically physical compliments, I start feeling like they want something from me.
Well, I wouldn't say that those are I wouldn't say physical compliments are necessarily words of
Okay,
affirmation.
well, that's fair.
That's a whole different ballpark.
That's fair. Okay, so, um, but I guess like the one that I like the most to receive love is also acts of service.
Yeah.
Like just knowing that I can count on someone to do something for me without expecting it. Like I will be in tears. Like
Yeah.
literally every time that that has happened, like I would just
Yeah.
it disarms me. Um, okay, well I love this, but I don't know where we were.
I totally you yeah, I guess I don't remember what the question was. You said we had two more questions before sidebarred us
Oh,
on
we
love
talked about
language.
physical contact. Okay, so yeah, I got us. We're close. So pause for a second date. So, what is the best time to end the date? How to handle rejection? How to handle ghosting? And how to like after that first date also like how that do we progress to show reciprocation, mutual respect? How do we engage um for a second date, etc. So best time to end the date. Let's say that it went well. How do we make that next step? What happens then?
Um, hmm. For me, like ending a date is just kind of like if I'm not, like I said, like I'm gonna read the room. I'm gonna read my room and then their room. If we're both not just like seeming like we're having such a great time, um, whenever the server comes over and is like, "Oh, like, do you guys want the check?" I might ask them like, "Are you ready for the check? Do you want anything else?" And then usually people just say yeah. And then if it seems like we're having a great time, I might say like, "Oh, I'm gonna walk this way. Do you wanna come with? Do you wanna get a coffee? Do you wanna get ice cream?" Um, Kind of going back to what you were saying, if I do feel drained, or if I do feel like, okay, like if I find myself thinking about the other things I need to do that day, or if I find myself being like, yeah, like I'm ready to do this, or like go do that for work, or like I need to move into the next part of my day, then I'm probably going to keep it moving. Um, but, you said about a second date.
Is that something you like to establish on the spot or like a follow-up later kind of thing?
I kind of like to establish on the spot, especially if it seems like we're both really having a good time. Um, Towards the end, I may be like, I don't know, I may be like, would you want to hang out again soon? Or, sometimes you're on a date, like if you're at a restaurant, and the person might be like, oh, I know this really good insert other cuisine spot. I may be like, I might test the waters and be like, oh, I feel like we should go there sometime.
Yeah,
And
let's
if
go
they're
there
like,
That's
next.
cute.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
then
Yeah, no, I
I'm
definitely
really I'm not afraid to like put things out there and be like, you
Yeah.
kind of test the water in that way.
Well, it seems like also like you do there's like a backup second mini date after your first date. So like if it's going really well, you're gonna go get ice cream or coffee and you're gonna offer that. So you just like it's flowing into that. And so
Yeah.
then at that point, if they agree, I feel like it's also safer to be like, oh, let's just try something else, you know?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I agree.
I like that move.
Yeah, that's definitely smart. I agree. I definitely agree with you in the sense of like if the vibe is really good, I want to lock down date number two like on the spot while we're together. So very similar to like what you said, like where it's like a
Mhm.
if something came up naturally during the date, like they mentioned, like an activity or a location, maybe it's a park, maybe it's uh a game or like some event or location, then I would probably loop that in as
Right.
like let's go try that
Right.
next, especially if it was like I suggested with the place where we're at currently. But then again, I think that even if you run into a scenario where it's like you said, like, okay, now maybe you're like starting to like disassociate from the date and you're feeling less present and you need to like go about on with your day. I don't necessarily think that that means like oh, no date number two, because as we've both discussed, we like some time to like process,
Right.
think,
That's my thing.
and then it's okay to circle back and be like 24 hours later, like, okay, like I had a really good time. I'd really like to see you again. I think that that's appropriate too. What we both discussed that we both hate is like when you walk away from a date and then it's like within the first 30 minutes to an hour, you get a text and you're like, oh, I had a really good time. It's like, it feels like weird and a little disingenuous
Yeah.
to
Do
me.
you send that text, or do you expect that text after they like right away? Like, I had a good time, like let's do this again, or do you just gotta sort of fade into
Like, imagine you
silence?
went out for dinner, you guys have parted ways, you both get home, it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then at like 11:30, they're like, "Oh, I had a really good time," smiley face.
If I had a really good time, I'll probably tell you there in person.
Exactly, that's my thought, it's like, or it's like I've had time to think about the day and I'm processing and I've come back and I'm like, "You know what? I did have a good time and I'd like to see you again." I think that
Yeah.
makes sense, but it feels like there's like this level of like it's like an
It's
insecure
like an anxiety.
it's an
It's like
anxiety.
I need to quench this anxiety that I'm feeling right now because I don't know if you accepted me or rejected me.
Yeah, 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 and
And
I
so
need to
like,
know
and
now.
I need to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so on the flip side of all this, what if the date didn't go well? How do you tell someone that it didn't go well?
Yeah, like,
Um,
have you had experiences where you've, like, had the opportunity to tell them, like, on the spot in person, like, during
I
that.
mean, it's just open question. We don't know if he does it
Yeah.
in person or not.
Well, I was yeah, just yeah.
yeah. I mean, generally, I'm really big on communication. So if I think it went well, I'll tell you. If I don't think it went well, I'm not going to say I don't think it went well unless you did things like unless you did something that was just like even as a friend, I don't feel comfortable with. Um, I normally will just tell people like, "Hey, I really appreciate you meeting with me today. I feel like I don't know. This kind of goes back to how my brain has to work at work, but I feel like it's a really safe space. So basically, to kind of put on my work brain, I would tell you like three positives or two positives and like one negative because I'm not here to hurt your feelings. I'm not here to tell you like you're not fit to date anyone. I would just kind of say like, hey,
It's rough.
you know what I mean? Like I'm not here to like do
Yeah.
anything crazy, but if it didn't work, I'm gonna be like, hey, I think like you're really funny. I think we had like really good conversation. Um, I think that our connection would be a little bit better platonically, and I don't want to ruin that. Or if they did things that were actively like not
Yeah.
okay, um, like I've had people say like racist things or like treat wait staff in a certain way or like whatever. In those situations, I'd be like, hey, I think our conversations went well. I think this, I think that, but I'm really uncomfortable with the fact that you said this, this, and this. If it's like super racist and like just actively wrong, I'd bring it up. Or hey, I just like really didn't think the server deserved to be treated in that way, and I just thought that was really uncomfortable. I feel like we would be better as friends, you know. And then whatever feelings they have, they can have. But
I think the two positives and a negative kind of way to look about it is really smart because I think that, yeah, like nobody wants to, for the most part, nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings. That's not the purpose. Even if somebody necessarily like said some like racist remarks or was just like blatantly rude, like my goal isn't to respond to that to like make hurt them in some way, shape, or form.
like start an argument. Like I'm not
Yeah,
here to like stir it up. I'm not even here to really like make you feel like you've been validated or rejected. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you can reject somebody without it feeling like rejection at all. And
yeah,
like that's the goal.
yeah, yeah.
This is interesting. It's like it's making me really anxious.
I
All of this conversation, mostly because I don't. I think like most of the dates. I wouldn't know how to like be direct and not be scared, mostly because the times that I have rejected people, even in gentle ways, I have interfaced with people that didn't know how to accept rejection and they kind of lash out to me. And so it makes me really, really uncomfortable for fear that like it will be taken. Uh,
That you'll get some really like violent, aggressive reaction.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it happens more often
It
than not
definitely
with me.
There's like there's people hate what I'm about to say, but there's nothing wrong, especially if it's a first date. There is nothing wrong with walking away and then texting them later. Like similar to what you
Yeah,
were just
yeah,
talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
There's really nothing wrong with
yeah.
like thinking about it. And people have been like, well, someone has told me like, well, I don't like that you what did they say? Like something like, I don't like that you waited. Oh yeah, yeah. I don't like that you waited until after the date was over to tell me that you don't want a second date. And and I had a message
Well,
ready,
that's
you
unfair.
know,
Yeah.
it's like maybe I didn't know at the time, and now I know.
right. Um, and I had a message similar to that I typed out and I was ready to go. But before I sent it, I was like, hold on. They're already coming at me with like kind of aggressive energy that I didn't really see coming. So hold on. Like if I send this message, which only explained why I did it, it didn't validate that it was only me being like, well, it was because what do I want to get and what am I actually gonna get by sending this?
Yeah.
Am I What I want to get is for them to be like, oh, that makes sense. I validate you.
Right.
Got it. Am I actually gonna get that? Probably not. They're already really upset. So I actually ended up deleting it and I asked them, why? Why don't you like that I waited for you to. Why? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What was the answer?
they were like, well, I mean, I was just right there. I was right there at the table. You could have just told me then. And I said, well, it's been about 30 minutes. What's the difference between
I thought like 10 days had passed. So it's just
No,
30
no,
minutes.
he said he was circling back to our
Oh
like
my
right now.
God.
But see,
Yeah.
I
I
think
was really,
I
I
Yeah.
think
was trying to be honest and I was trying to, like, if I know I don't want something, why would I wait longer
Yeah.
to tell you?
Sure.
And so I kind of, in all of that, long story short, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
At the end of the day,
Right.
they're just upset about the news.
yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as you go about it in like a loving, mature way, you can't really be right and you can't
Yeah.
really be wrong.
Yeah.
I had a really nice experience. I went on a date with someone. We had really good conversation. I wasn't attracted to him, which was, to me that just signals it's like we can be friends, but this is likely like not going to change, and so if anything else is expected, I'd rather not. He didn't read that part, and obviously he had no way to knowing that, even though like he was trying to get closer to me and I just kept moving, like that typical like, oh, he's getting closer, I just keep moving over. And like he didn't read into that. It's like he attempts to kiss me on the way out and I avoid the kiss and then I leave. And then he sends me a really nice message like 30 minutes later because I was in panic mode. I was like, I don't know how to reject you. Like we had a good time. I'm just not physically attracted. And I want to say that it's hard for me to say that in person. I don't know. Maybe this is something I need to work on. But like I feel like that's,
Again,
that could hurt someone's
you're not trying to
feelings.
hurt anybody.
I know I'm not, but like still like, like it's hard to hear,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially when I know for a fact that this person was attracted to me.
Yeah.
And so it's a rough thing for me to do that in person. And so, but I did get a message from him saying, hey, like I really feel the spark with you. I had a wonderful time. I did not. I don't know if you felt the spark also. I was confused because we had a really good conversation, but also like I don't know if I'm misreading, your pleasantness with, more. And so instead of asking you for a second date and wasting everybody's time, like just let me know. And I thought that that was such a nice opening because it made me feel safe to be very clear and open and vulnerable. And so I answered like, you're absolutely right. I really enjoy the time that I spent with you. I just don't feel the spark. And I thought that just saying it that way was like such a like nice way to say it without having to go into the details of, like my preferences or physical preferences or sexual preference or whatever, and so
Yeah.
um
Well, I think for me, the takeaway there is like I don't think you necessarily need to give anybody a reason as to why you're not interested in following through. I think in the context of like what you said, when they like make a specific I mean, it all depends on like what that you have the capacity for. Like, I think if somebody makes a super inappropriate remark, you are totally within your rights to like call them out on it. But like, know that if you're calling them out on it, then you're opening up some level of like potential engagement about the topic. So it's like if you're not interested in engaging them, you don't have to. Like, I think it's totally appropriate to just like my little grinder quip, not a match for me, thanks, good luck, be safe,
yeah,
have fun.
yeah,
It's just that's it doesn't need to be more complicated than that sometimes. And I also think to like go back to the like you texting this person 30 minutes later. To me, texting somebody later, like the rejection, I think is different than the like for some reason that feels more acceptable than like texting somebody that like 30 minutes later being like, "Oh, I had a really great time. I can't wait to see you again." It's like, "We just left."
yeah. If we
But
just left and it's gonna continue, I think it's okay to wait. But
y
if it's not gonna continue, maybe as soon
yeah.
as you realize it, I think it's fair to
Yeah,
do it.
exactly, and it's
Yeah,
like maybe you didn't know right there on the spot, and then,
yeah.
like, 30 minutes later, you're like, I'm not, like, feeling great, ultimately after all that, like, and I don't think that I wanna do that again." Like, I think that that's totally acceptable and makes sense, and I think that that person was just, yeah, trying to invalidate you in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
All right. So last topic. Um, what are red flags? I think you started mentioning some, how they treat waiters, um, how they handle being angry. Uh, what are other red flags that are absolutely no go, especially on a first date? Things to look out for.
One of my biggest red flags is, and this comes up, I think this is a pretty common like thing to come up on dates, but one of my biggest red flags is when people ask, what are you looking for in a partner? Um, and and I get it. Like some people are like, well, if they don't ask that, how do they know? And it's like, well, I'm not really trying to give you like the blueprint here. Like if we work, like we work. I don't want. I've told people in the past, and then kind of watched them mold and fold into this like funny, smart, caring. Like
Not, but
whatever.
not
You know
generally
what I
to
mean?
them.
Like yeah, like I have literally sat across the table from someone that felt like a blank canvas, and then the more we hang out, the more they're starting to become the person that I described, and then it's been 3 months and they can't keep up the act, and all of a sudden, like,
Yeah, it all
It's
falls
falling
apart.
apart,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know what I mean? I'm like, who's this? Like, you told me that you were someone who was really calm and regulated when things hit the fan, and like, what you just did for that really small problem was not calm and regulated. 4 months in, like,
Yeah.
are you starting to just kind of unravel? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you ask me that, asking isn't really a red flag. I understand why you ask. It's if you're frustrated by me telling you, I just want to see what happens naturally. So, for example, people have asked me, what are you looking for? And I will vaguely, intentionally, vaguely say, I'm just looking for someone who's comfortable being themselves. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I've had people be like, honestly, cool, great, let's keep going. And then I've had other people kind of like dig their heels in and be like, well, no, like I need to know. And then,
Hmm.
well, why are you getting frustrated? Like, why aren't you
That's a
okay
red
with me
flag
giving
already.
you?
Yeah, because exactly, because
Yeah.
that's them fishing for exactly like you said. They're fishing for what things they can do that will like
Mhm.
hook you
Yeah.
onto
It's like
them.
the narcissist psychopath,
Yeah,
like,
it's a def
like manipulation tactics.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
what behaviors can I exhibit to make you addicted to me so that you won't leave?
And it's kind of that chameleon of a person of like, well, I'm actually frustrated because you're not giving me the blueprint on how to make myself ideal.
Yeah.
Well, that's that whole sentence is like, it's not natural. You can't make yourself aligned naturally. You either do or you don't, right? So I think that's kind of a red flag. Again, just to clarify, it's not being asked, what are you looking for? That's a red flag. It's what you do with my answer. Because my answer is, I'm not telling you.
Yeah.
Are you okay with just kind of being yourself and being confident and like moving forward? Or do you get frustrated that I'm not giving you the blueprint? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of going into red flag number two, which is like love bombing.
Oh God.
That's my number one.
That was my experience
Yeah.
with, yeah, like date boy number one, and now it's become such a huge red flag as from that one experience.
And I've had people be like, well, how do you know you're getting love bombed versus how do you know someone's just really into you? And it's like, I don't think that's something that you can just be like, well, love bombing is, you know what I mean? Like, it does have a hard definition, but it's true. Like, how do you really know?
Well, I
So,
mean, but that goes back to what we were saying. It's like if you're simmering a new connection and it's brand new and you only can go by what you share in a text, what they saw in a profile, what they're experiencing within an hour of meeting you live, can they really be that into you to like just completely go nuts about you? No, you're getting carried away by an idea, by expectations, by assumptions of who I am as a whole. But that's to me like it's a red flag because I feel like automatically now they are expecting me to be someone that I'm not. It's like you don't really know me enough to tell me like you like me so much. You're just probably attracted, you're probably infatuated, at most. But everything else to me feels like a sham, unless you actually are going to take the time to get to know me, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
You had one about unstable lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been a huge red flag for me if there's like this very obvious like instability about a person. Like if it's like,
Mm.
oh, I'm living on a couch and I've been there for 6 months, and like no like judgment to the struggle, but like for
Yeah,
example, if you're living on a couch, you have bigger priorities than dating right
correct.
now.
Yeah,
If we're on a date and you're like, "Oh, I'm constantly rotating between
yeah,
jobs. Like I
yeah,
haven't been able to maintain a job
yeah,
for longer than a year or something." That's a red flag to me.
yeah.
Like if you're like, "Oh, I move around," like any sense of like
Mhm.
instability, and not to say that like,
And it's not, maybe it's not necessarily a red flag, the situation, but more like we're not aligning in where we're at in our life path, and I think that a certain level of parity for an even relationship needs to exist,
yeah,
otherwise the dynamics and the power control dynamics, like they all kind of sort of start playing a bigger role, which
yeah,
again, not here to judge those dynamics either, but they exist and it works for some people. But to me, when I want to date someone where I am, like I want to date an equal. I don't want someone that is above me or below
Right.
me and that I have to consistently like either be a dad to or be the baby off. Like
yeah.
it's just like neither of those dynamics work for me as a partnership.
Yeah, and it can be something even like going in like maybe a different way to interpret it. Like somebody who's like newly out, like you have a lot of exploring and figuring out to do. We are in very different places in our life, and like I'm happy to like develop some sort of relationship with you, but as far as like a concept of us pursuing like a long-term relationship, it's unlikely that I'm going to be interested in that because I understand the value of you needing to like not be locked down to
Yeah,
something right
yeah,
now. Like that
yeah.
just doesn't make sense for you. Whether that's something you think you want or you don't,
Yeah.
like
No, I think it makes sense. Like
yeah.
your priorities are off.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
readjust your priorities, like so that like you can meet someone as a whole rather than as like, an incomplete person that is trying to like fill in more stuff.
Yeah, I can't fill in your gaps.
Yeah. And I think we talked about most of us throughout the whole episode at this point: love bombing, forcing connection, insecurity, anxiety, triggers, dating when your cup is empty, meanness. You mentioned. The one that we haven't talked about is when you're talking to them and all of their exes have been terrible. All of their exes have had a problem. They hate all of their exes. And there's like that to me is like, oh, that is a big billboard advertising that says I have not looked inwards throughout my whole life.
Yeah.
If every single person you've been with is a problem and you had no part in the problem of your relationship, I cannot be with you because it takes two.
But also, I think that, I mean, if we're talking in the concepts of like super early on in the dating realm, if like your exes are coming up like a lot early on, that's just a red flag in and of
Well, I mean,
itself.
yeah,
But
yeah, sure, yeah, I agree with that. But sometimes, like, I do like to ask, so when was your last relationship?
yes,
Like, how long was your last relationship? Like, I want to know, like, what sort of like history and practice they have in relationships. Because if they're gonna be like, well, I never been in a relationship, I'll be like, ooh,
ooh,
okay, so I don't know. Like, you have to be super solid for me
you
to
need to be,
want to try,
yeah, you
you
need to
know?
be aware of your lack of experience and
Yeah.
be open and willing to learn. And
Oof, I don't know. I wouldn't be a first timer. I'm not a FaceTimer.
well,
Like
yeah,
as soon as they tell me first time to edit, then I'll be like, probably not the right person.
hit me up in a year.
Go find your experience
Yeah,
because I feel like I'm on the other side of this. It's like where I'm just old and I want to ground and like I don't want to train
yeah,
anybody.
yeah, yeah.
So okay, anything else you guys want to add, or we can close off otherwise with our
I
next
wanted to,
segment.
I wanted to circle back to, I had another additional thought to about the whole like what's appropriate to share or not, and I just wanted, it's not like a uh, I definitely struggle with that in the concept of like here I am in this very interesting, like polyamorous, complicated long-term relationship,
Hmm.
long distance relationship situation. So it's definitely like a fine line that I struggle with boys is like how much of this situation do I clue them into at what time? Like what do they need to know?
As
Because
soon
they're
as possible.
it's
You do tell them you're in a
oh, I mean, yeah,
relationship, right? Okay.
absolutely. But it's like, how much do I tell them about the situation of like the dynamics of my relationship? Because there have been certain situations where it's like it felt right to talk about some aspects, like my partner's struggle with addiction and how that's impacted me in certain ways. Like that's felt appropriate. But then it's also like, and I've had people respond where they were like, "Oh wow, like I really appreciate you sharing that," and it felt like a moment to connect, but like objectively thinking about it, it feels like something that's just like way too much to share. Like it feels like early on, really all they need to know is that like I'm
The
in a
basics.
committed relationship and I'm looking for
I will say the basics so they know what they're getting into.
yeah,
And then the rest it needs to be prompted by questions, I will assume.
yeah,
I don't know. What's your take, Solo?
Yeah, I was gonna say like whatever feels the best. Like I would say whatever you feel like, ooh, they should probably know this. So like the fact that you're in a committed relationship, and then even if you just say like one sentence like I'm in an open relationship, and then you're kind of like, what else should I say? Just take the responsibility off you and be like, what else do you want to know?
yeah. That's a smart way to approach
Yeah,
it.
that's great.
Yeah, what do you want to know about it? We can talk about it now or we don't have to talk about it at all.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for sharing all of this. So insightful, Solo. So
Yeah.
insightful, Ryan. We have our next and last segment will be our queer as fuck, where our listeners send questions that we answered live, and we actually gonna go with one of your listeners, one of the most asked questions for you, Solo, which is you said that you get this a lot, and the questions around the time, the different attachment styles. I think
Yeah.
my partner is avoidant. How do I deal with avoidant behaviors?
Yeah, and it doesn't only go for avoidant partners, right? I get that question about people who are really anxiously attached, really avoidant.
Yeah.
Um, you
Can we
know,
define avoidant can we define that a little bit?
yeah, like avoidant is really similar to like being disorganized in the way that, for example, maybe today I'm having like a really high day, meaning like I'm feeling really good, I'm feeling really confident. So I might be texting you lots of great words, words and phrases of affirmation. I might be letting you know, like, hey, I'm really happy. I feel really good. Like, thank you for being such a great partner. I feel great. Um, on next Wednesday, do you want to go get dinner? Right? Like, really, really here, really in the moment. And then tomorrow, maybe you don't hear from me very much, if anything. Maybe when you do finally corner me and get me to pick up the phone, maybe I'm not really giving you a lot of answers. I'm being vague. I'm being nonchalant. I'm just hard to read. And then the next day, maybe I'm kind of the merge of the two. Maybe I'm not texting you that much, but when I am texting you, I'm really lovey. Really, I can't wait for Wednesday. And then Wednesday comes around and I cancel. So just kind of like all over the place, like having people feel like, do you like me? Do you not? Like, are you done with me? Oh, you're back. What's going on? Did I do something wrong? So all of those characteristics kind of describe an avoidant partner. And when we say avoidant, psychologically, I don't think we mean avoidant of the connection. It's more so avoidant of like the emotions that person has related to the connection. So what that could mean is maybe that person is, maybe they do really like you, maybe they do really care about you, but there's some trauma in there where they have a hard time receiving love in that way. So maybe they're kind of avoiding all the stuff that that brings up. Maybe they have a hard time showing the love, so they're avoiding like the guilt that comes from not being able to, and your questions and this and that. You know what I mean? So
Do you think this is also related to the feelings of independence for the avoidance? I feel like they do value that a lot more. Do you agree with
yeah,
that?
yeah, and I do think they do value that more, and then maybe kind of even avoiding like, I don't even know how to, like, avoiding navigating. How do I tell my partner that I kind of need my own space. I kind of need my own
Right.
time without feeling like I'm letting go of the relationship or letting them down. I don't know how to deal with that. I'm just going to back up for a second.
So avoiding like conflicting, compromising, negotiating, that kind of the behavior, the relationship
Yeah,
administrative work.
right. I
Yeah,
think
avoiding confronting all the issues. Yeah.
committing,
Okay,
like the
okay,
commitment part, I
okay.
think it's big for what I sense.
Yeah.
And the anxious, as an ex anxious like attachment, like it's about like having that consistency and that validation and that pulse that happens consistently and often,
Mhm.
so that your own sense of anxiety gets reduced. Especially like this is really high with people that have had abandonment issues, or just like hot and cold narcissistic behaviors
Yeah.
from the external thing, kind of sort of creates this more anxiety of like, oh, where is this going? Like I need security, I need to be feel grounded, and I need that validation consistently, whether for the avoidance, uh that will actually overpower them, like that will be too much, like that consistent validation, and it just kind of sort of makes them pull
Pushes them
back.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so like it's like literally two magnets with opposite like charges,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
just pushing each other, and so it's a really bad combo.
Yeah, no, that helps.
Yeah,
I think that that
yeah,
helps me understand what he was describing
yeah,
there a little bit, the like the magnet thing.
yeah,
Okay, okay, that helps.
yeah, yeah, and so
So,
yeah,
so
good.
when people come to me and they're like, hey, like, I've been dating this avoidant person or this anxious person for a really long time. Like, how do I deal with their tendencies? I always say, like, well, step one is if you're asking someone how to like deal with something, realistically, you're really asking, like, how do you continue to deal with something? You're probably not at the beginning of this journey, is what I'm saying. You've probably been dealing with this for quite some time.
Yeah.
You're really asking me, how do I hold on? You know, and then am I right or am I wrong? And usually people are like, yeah, you're right. It's been forever. Um, so then the next step is like, ironically, like not to be avoidant myself, but ironically, I think you should ask yourself, like, how happy are you? Are you,
Fair.
how happy are you? Because if if their avoidant or anxious tendencies are just kind of annoying to you and it's not really at the forefront of your
You're not
relationship,
perfect.
it's just something,
Yeah.
it pops up sometimes, it's just annoying. That's one thing. If you feel like you can deal with this, but if you're coming to me because you're just like getting ripped apart by their tendencies and stuff like that, then like I think the one thing people need to know is you don't have to deal with it at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you had a whole life, a whole something going on before you even met this person. And when someone's super avoidant and super anxious, we get so wrapped up in it and we get so like, how do I help you fix this? How do I get us to this like how do I help us reach the potential that I have for us? How do I help us get rid of this so we can just like live in our princess castle in the sky the way I see it in my head? And it's like, well, that's just in your head. That castle may not even be real. One,
Yeah.
you may never get there. And two, how do you know if the castle is real? How do you know that it's built for you two? How do you know it's not built for you and somebody else? Like, you really don't know. So I guess what I'm saying is like, there are things you can do to help yourself cope with the tendencies, but you can't help them cope with those tendencies. Those
Well,
tendencies are for them to
yeah.
deal with,
And you're
for
not
them
gonna
to deal
change them though. So if you're betting on someone
with.
else changing so
Yeah.
that,
I mean,
you made the wrong choice.
let's
Like,
all agree that like do not ever go into dating somebody with this idea of changing them.
yeah.
Like you can change aspects or even really yourself. I mean, there's obviously certain things that we can change about ourselves, but going into a relationship of with any kind of conceptuality of changing one
Someone
party
else.
or
Yeah.
another
It's so
into something
toxic.
else,
It's already so
it's just not going to
toxic.
work. It's not going to
Yeah,
work.
it's like you can only control yourself,
Yeah.
and even if you want to change, that has to come out of an innate desire
For you,
to
not for them.
grow, and not because you want to make something work, because I feel like that just
Yeah, like I
like
want to be a
six or
better
seven.
person is a great reason
Yeah,
to change.
exactly,
Not
but
like I
like
want to be better for
for
them.
you, because you're gonna resent that at some point. It's not gonna feel genuine, and I think you're gonna continue chasing that forever, like and never really come to terms of like who you really are, or discover what you really need for yourself.
Yeah.
And so if it's not working out, because of fundamentally different, yeah,
Morals.
values, different approaches to dating. That's why I think like the way that we went through the episode is like, okay, what does dating mean to you? How do you realize that this other person is the right person for you? All of those things need to be put in place. That discovery needs to happen, you know way before you come to this terms of like, and people also change throughout a relationship,
Absolutely.
which is also, like it can happen too. Maybe what used to be a secure person, and or two secure people coming together, like then that eventually like develops into something else. But I think like taking account and reassessing, that relationship. And I think someone told me once, it's like, all we can hope is like every day we wake up and like, we make the conscious choice of working on this relationship together. I
Yeah.
think that's the best that you can do. Yes, of course, you don't want to like also like bail at the first sign of difficulty,
Mhm.
but it's like you want to commit to someone, but also like understanding that every day is also a choice,
Mm.
and you have to make that
Yeah.
choice.
So
Certainly.
I tell people like, well, straightforward, the way to use their language, deal with that avoidant or that anxious partner is I kind of say, okay, step one, are you happy? If not,
Yeah.
there's no step two.
Yeah.
But if but like if you are right, then step two is kind of saying, all right, have you communicated with them what's going on within you,
Yeah.
right? Like which means have you sat them down to be like, hey, your tendency stirred this up for me. And then kind of step three is saying is giving them the chance to take that change upon themselves, like you know um because it's like if you tell someone that something they do bothers you, if they care about you and they love you, then they're really going to try to stop
Yeah.
bothering you. They're going to
Yeah.
try to fix
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
um which kind of leads me to step four, which I wouldn't say this, but in your mind you have a life and it's not very, life doesn't go on forever, so you need to give them a silent kind of amount of time that you're going to watch, right? Like, if I communicated my needs and what's going on, I'm going to give you an unspoken amount of time in my head to see if you actually try to grow. Um, Realistically, it's not fair to say, if I don't see change in 3 weeks, I'm out of here. But that doesn't mean it's not fair to
Yeah,
feel that.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's not fair
yeah.
to put that pressure on someone and say, come on, let's go, you need to change. But you do matter too. Your lifeline matters too. So it is fair for you to say, I am going to give this a
I
go.
have timeline. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's fair too. To me, I think ultimately I would just always, propose couples therapy if I'm in that spot. It's like, are you willing? Like, I would know already at the beginning. It's like if this person is therapy compatible, and if and if they are, we'll probably be dating. And if we do, then like couples therapy will be my choice. Especially if I'm having a difficult time working through something with them. I did this with Jordan, and we were able to heal something that was like wounding us deeper, uh and it was really really beneficial. But I think you're right. Like it's like, okay, well, like I have these needs, I communicated these needs. I think someone that loves you, someone that cares about you, they're going to put an effort into doing that. But I think having results, like, or real results from actionable steps that they taken, I think it's necessary for me because I'm not a words person. It will never work for
Yeah.
me for someone to tell me like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna be like, okay, well, nothing has changed
Show
still.
me.
Like, show me.
Yeah.
I want to see results.
Yeah.
Uh, so I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think, I would add personally, I would add one more step into this like process because there would be the communication of like, okay, this is what your tendencies, how they're affecting me, and this is what I need from you. Um, and then I would take it to the next step of also like,
There's a compromise too here
yeah, it's like,
somewhere.
what is there something that I'm not doing for you that you need that would help you not fall into these tendencies?
Right.
Like, is there level of attention, or
Let's understand the dynamics,
is there
right?
some, yeah,
Like,
some
is this a
word?
trigger?
Exactly. How
Yeah,
can we together come together to stop this behavior that is not working for
yeah,
us?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love all of this. So in closing, our queer tip of the day, what will be your main takeaway for our listeners, Solo? Like, what's a phrase that they should like just remember out of all of this for dating?
Really, just that, going all the way back to kind of the beginning, just that like familiar doesn't mean safe.
I absolutely love that, like,
Yeah.
little piece you said, like just familiar and getting to know someone, and like I just it something really clicked at the beginning of the episode, and like and just the difference of getting to know someone and liking someone, and it's so different feelings. So I appreciate for you for saying that. But finish your thoughts, sorry.
Yeah, no, just that familiar doesn't mean safe, and allow yourself to rewire your brain.
Yeah,
Don't like lock yourself in this one way of thinking. Um, that's why people always seem to attract toxic people. It's like, well, it's because you're entertaining.
You're
yeah,
familiar with toxic people.
you're
Yeah,
fixed.
I think it even goes to a next level beyond familiar doesn't mean safe. I think if you're applying this in the context of like, I've had really bad relationship history, I think in that context, it's almost like familiar should be a red flag for you. If you've had a lot of like toxic history of dating, I think if you find yourself with any sense of familiarity, it should be like, oh, I need to step back from this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
Like, not only does familiar not mean safe, but it can mean unsafe.
It can mean danger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be your huge red
yeah,
flag.
yeah,
totally.
absolutely. What's your takeaway, Ryan?
Oh man. Um I think that my takeaway is like to really like not be like to take time to process how you feel about an interaction with a person. Like, you don't need to text right away. If it feels right, go ahead and do it. And ultimately communication is like the key factor here. Like, tell a person how you're feeling, and don't be afraid to be told how another person is feeling. And I will always go back to this: don't ghost people. Like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna break somebody's heart. There are other fish in the
Be
sea.
kind.
We're all
Be
full grown
kind
adults.
with one
Let's like,
another. Yeah.
yeah, like let's extend the kindness of like humanness to one another, and just like agree that like ghosting is dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think for me is twofold. Is like just learn about yourself, fulfill yourself, try to become yourself whole first, because like I said at the beginning, like dating when you're empty and thirsty and needy is so heightened and so intense.
Yeah.
And if you can just actually reduce that intensity by getting to know yourself, by having other people in your life fulfilling your needs, by having hobbies, by getting to know yourself, learning new things, you're taking so much pressure off meeting someone. And when you do meet those people, you leaving a lot more breathing room for things to organically unfold. So that will be my takeaway. Get to know yourself. Um, so great. Well, this been a fantastic collaboration. I'm so excited to have you here with us.
Yeah, this is
Although, thank
awesome.
you so much for sharing. Would you like to plug your social media, yeah, accounts and how people can connect with you?
Yeah, on anything like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, it's all the same. It's Solo Dolo BC, like because YOLO. So Solo Dolo BC YOLO.
Can you share the reasoning behind that? I've been trying to
Yeah,
think out why you would have
I got
chosen that.
solo and I got because YOLO. It's the dolo in the middle that I think I need the explanation.
Yeah, I want to know.
yeah. I'm like you. I'm really introverted, and when I created the handle, it was in like a super, super, super introverted period of time
Yeah.
where I was just focused on my career. I wasn't dating. I wasn't even really looking for friends, and I feel like solo dolo. Like you're just kind of like I. Sometimes I'd rather be by myself than in random company
Oh yeah,
because
Mhm.
you only
100%.
live once, and I think that like peace within yourself versus external peace is like the ultimate everything.
100%.
100%. Absolutely agree. Thank you so much. I appreciate how grounded you sounded throughout this. It calms me down. I love your voice. I love your insight. I'm glad that I found you online, and I am so thankful and humble that you chose to share your knowledge and your wisdom with us and our listeners.
Yeah, I personally feel even a little bit more like equipped. Like I said, I feel like I've been coming into this with like dating training wheels, and I feel maybe ready to take one off.
Love it. Thank
Yeah, well, I appreciate your time, and I let me know if you ever want to sit down in the future.
I
Yeah,
envision we definitely will
absolutely.
be.
Yeah, probably do.
Hopefully we can circle back in a year and do like an anniversary episode.
And see if everybody's dating who are
Yeah, we can all
moved.
talk about our current relationships.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Thank you to our listeners.
Bye,
We'll
guys.
tune in next month.
Yeah, we can't
All
wait
right.
for you to hear from us again.
All right. Thank you all.
Awesome.
You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube.
You guys can check us out on Instagram at livelaughloads.podcast, on Blue Sky at livelaughloadscast, or look us up at livelaughloads.com.
We did it.
We did it. Oh my gosh.
And we ended up with 2 hours. Yeah, sorry we always do that.
Thank you, bro.